John, I wanted to thank you for taking time to speak with me today.
Man, I want to thank you. I was so excited because when you had contacted my partner Cindy, and we had just got word back from Rock and Roll Harley Davidson there in Cleveland. They're getting ready to do a big bike run coming up to House of Blues. Where we've got look at we got Dino Jelusick, from
Yes,
Trans Siberian. We got Mark Kendall from Great White. We've got Doug Aldrich that played with Whitesnake, Dead Daisies,
yeah.
Tony Cavazo from Hurricane. We got Vinnie Appice. And we got all this going on. And I was so excited. And your timing was great, brother.
And it's actually a great time to celebrate. It's summer, and people are having a chance to see five amazing bands in competition with each other. I wanted to ask you, on what criteria will the judges be judging them on?
What's funny? Okay, so I'm stepping away from that as a promoter, but talking and listening to some of the guys, I think anybody who understands this business, okay, you're looking for people that have something original, you
Sure.
know, that they know how to tell a story. You're looking, and not only do they know how to tell a story, but what is their chemistry like on
Mhm.
stage? Are they having fun with each other?
Absolutely.
If they're not having fun, the audience isn't going to.
Absolutely.
So I'm not trying to put words in the guys' mouths, but I think we could all agree. I mean, there has to be originality. There has to be chemistry. There has to be there's that it factor.
Sure. And you know as well as I know that being in a band requires that chemistry, and it's so vital to have because it's hard for a band because you have four people together. Hell, most marriages don't work with two people, let alone four.
Oh, don't get me started, dude. Like fourth time for me was a charm. And so, my Susie and I have been together. We're pushing 20 years between when we dated and when we went. My first three didn't last about 20 minutes. Uh, you know, and yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right because as a band, especially if you're lucky enough to do anything.
Yeah,
You're with each other more than you're with your spouse.
absolutely.
You're out there. You're pushing it, and it's a grind, and you're hopefully doing something that will be received.
And
By the public. And so you go through, this crazy thing, trying to figure out how to work that out with each other, and
sure,
more times than not, that doesn't work.
absolutely. And I wanted to ask you about the partnership with the Children's Hospital. How will the how how will this proceeds and go to the place, and why did you choose them?
They actually, what's funny, going way back. So Rock God Entertainment started. I was working on a video game uh, that was kind of half Guitar Hero and half like one of these role-playing games like Elder Scrolls.
Ah,
And it was, if you could get through the game, it was like how to become a rock god for an idiot. And I was really lucky, and I had guys that had done letters of intent like Eric Singer and Mark Slaughter and on and on and on. And we were working on that. Um, and unfortunately, right at the time we were about to sign, and I'm talking, the budget was over 20 million.
Wow.
So, and then there was a stock market crash, some things happened. We went back and forth. But I've always kept the belief with anybody, and like the movie Rockies, one of my favorite films. So whether it's the Rock God game we were doing, or whether you look at Rocky and you're a 1 to 1 million underdog, or whether I've always been this guy that's like, you got to believe in you.
Absolutely.
You got to chase your dreams. You got to go for it. Um, and so it all kind of originated from that. Might not be the straightest answer you've ever received, but that's where all that comes from.
And the Children's Hospital is, there's no better place to give money. We talked about my partnership with St. Jude, and these are vital parts of our system, and these are children that really need help.
They do. Well, and actually, my rambling that I just did. So when all that was going on about the Ron God thing,
Mm,
and at the time, Mark Slaughter was doing a ton of stuff for St. Jude's. Yeah, and he would send me tracks here and there and go, "Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that?"
mm.
And he was doing all this fantastic stuff. Um, and I had really, up until partnering with Cindy, I didn't know anything about rainbow babies and children. But I had in the past worked on projects with St. Jude. Um, and so, yeah, I'm going to regress. So, yeah, I went around in circles talking about that project, but all of that brought us to here.
Sure.
Um, and I saw how many people would just give so much time, and I'm talking multi-platinum guys, Grammy winners, that would just give time to St. Jude's like you wouldn't believe. Um, and when Cindy started telling me about rainbow babies and children up here, I was just like, we got to do it.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, could you give me some background on the five bands that'll be competing?
Oh God, I can try. Yeah, there's, what's cool. There's a younger band. There's a young lady from Cleveland, Brady Lawrence. And I think, she and her whole band are in their teens.
Wow. That's
Um, but they have a really amazing energy that they're putting out. What makes them special to me is the fact that they're kids that wanted to put themselves out here to do something for a benefit to help other kids.
absolutely,
I think that's really special.
absolutely it is.
So that grabbed my attention. We got Ingo Swan from Pittsburgh. And I've only spoke to most of these bands briefly when I caught them to let them know that they were in with Cindy. This band from Pittsburgh, their energy, they literally had bought a new tour bus, and they were selling tickets. They're bringing a bus full of people to come to
Wow.
House of Blue, to party down. So that's really special. You know, I thought that was a really cool thing. Um, we got Conspiracy 216 that's also from there in Cleveland. They're a harder band. Uh, they do stuff, and I'm pulling for them. It's but most of these bands are on the classic rock side. These guys are really hard, but they get a lot of heart, you know. So I'm hoping they're going to do well. Uh, we've got Decibel Dogs and God, I feel like an idiot. It's Behind the Haze, another
Hmm.
band from Florida. We've got coming in, and both of those bands, have just been amazing. I know, Behind the Haze is actually doing a show with Conspiracy 216, and I feel like a schmuck because I don't have all the details, but the 25th,
Ah,
the night before the show in Cleveland, they're getting together and doing a thing. Um, so I mean, all of them that I've talked to, I mean, they have such a great heart. Yeah, and they were all, really excited uh, to be in the top five, and I found it interesting because I'm an old school rocker. I've seen guys willing to cut each other's throats over 5 minutes on stage. But I love the way that I'm seeing a lot of these finalists are really trying to work with each other to further this cause, which really touches my heart.
absolutely. And the doors open at 3 p.m. Is this correct?
Yeah, that's what they're telling me, man. I'm just the promoter. But that's what they're telling me.
Right. And and it's true that the winner will get on stage with the All Stars. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I got cracked up, man. They did a interview a couple of days back with a fellow named Doc Rock, the syndicated with a lot of people, and Doc asked him at one point, and he goes, "Well, we know the winning band's going to get on stage with you. How are you preparing for it?" And it was Dino Jelusick and Doug Aldrich. Santon was pretty like, yeah, yeah, we're not.
Yeah,
It's live rock and roll.
absolutely.
We're just gonna make it work, and that's what's great about it. And that I think that kind of thing is what's going to make this such a once in a lifetime opportunity,
Absolutely.
because you really do when you put the judges we have together performing. We have these five other bands. We have a special guest artist. We've got uh, and I've been doing this. I started doing gospel and touring when I was 5 years old. Yeah, and I have literally either got to tour with or hang out with or collaborate with some of the biggest bands in the world. I think this is one of the coolest shows I'm ever going to see, dude.
Absolutely. I agree too. And that's why I wanted to bring us out to everybody because it's truly going to be a great celebration.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. And I think if what one important thing I want to say again, rock and roll city Harley Davidson. So they're gonna start doing registration at 11 a.m. the day of the show on the 26th. Kickstands will be up around 1.
Mm.
And getting that in there. But we're giving huge discounts. So for $35, on general admission, and we've got discounts on everything else.
Mm.
That you're talking, like I said, people have a chance to win that Gibson Les Paul Gold Time.
Yes.
It's signed by the guys. They get to come to the show. They're on the ride. Yeah, it don't. Yeah, it's pretty good value, man. It don't get
Hell
much
yeah.
better.
Yes. Just the fact of the star value that's there alone is more than worth the price of the tickets.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I want to thank you so much for having me. And you know, yeah, you were telling me about a buddy of yours that builds bikes. I hope he'll bring a few folks in
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely. And
yeah, come around. He's more than I'll say this on here. Yeah, if he brings a few people in, and I'm sure he could probably call Doug and get them anyway, but he's got a VIP pass.
all right.
You know,
And I will let
we'll
him
hook
know
you
that
guys
as
up.
well.
Yeah, yeah, you guys will be hooked up, man.
And I wanted to take a moment to thank you, my friend. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to speak with you, my friend.
Thank you.
And
It's
thank you
been
for
such a
creating this
pleasure.
amazing event.
You know what? Hey, man, it's these kids. Doug Aldrich was talking, and I will say this. I don't mean to ramble, but Doug had went through. He had one of his younger kids was really sick and was in a kid's hospital. Um, and he was talking about his kid was in the hospital about 3 weeks. And he was talking about the observing when his kid was there, some of these kids, it was going to be 3 months. Some of these
Sure.
kids were never going to come home. So I think as rockers, I think, I think people judge us a lot. But I think as rockers, if you're in the metal, if you're a biker, if you're into, and we show the world that it's like, no, man, we're going to back up these kids and take care of them. I think
Absolutely.
that's what it's about.
Absolutely. And, in my experience, there's no stronger community on the planet.
Well, listen, man, God bless you. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, brother.
I look forward to meeting you, my friend, and you have a great rest of your night.
You too, man.
Cheers,
Good
my
night.
friend.